Today is the very first Valentine's Day edition of the No Politics podcast, where I'm joined by April Davis from Luxury Matchmaking, who, if you're trying to delete those awful dating apps and actually find a real connection, this is a perfect episode for you. So let's do it.
Too many days in the darkness without a glimpse of the light. Running tired and broken and scared, but I swear I'll never give up the fight. I see you broken and beat, head pulled down over your eyes. Every part of you wants to surrender, darling, you were meant to survive. With every star.
So I have April Davis on the podcast today, guys, with Luxury Matchmaking. Thanks so much for coming on, April. Your topic is so interesting, and everything that you do, I just want to pick your brain and get all the things because Valentine's Day is just right around the corner, and matchmaking, dating is such like a hot topic right now, especially changing after COVID. And would love to learn about everything you do because it is the most amazing career, I think, and most interesting that you can have.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me today.
Yeah. What made you want to get into the matchmaking business? I mean, were you just like you were just on so many like horrible dates and you're like, you know what, I just got to fix this. I got to turn this thing around and get my own show going. So
Right. Oh, actually, I was dating someone who he's now my husband, and he is a divorce attorney. So we were always talking about relationships. Yeah, he's on the other side of the business. We always joke we just need a therapist in between us, and then we could refer people. Really, yeah. But usually people need to stop by the therapist before they can get into another relationship.
That is so funny.
And well, I'd always been connecting people, and I mean, I guess sort of a matchmaker, but not just for romantic reasons, but also for business, or I meet a friend and like, oh, you should meet so and so, and I was always connecting people, and it just seemed like a natural fit when I realized that this matchmaking is an industry on its own. And I kind of dug into it, and I met with a lot of the services, did kind of my diligence on and competitive analysis just to understand what different companies were doing and where there was opportunities for improvement. My background is in process improvement, so I had a lot of good ideas and things that I just knew. I'm like, okay, this is what I would do better. I could change this and do this so much better. A lot of their ways were pretty outdated. And then with the apps coming up, and those were becoming more ubiquitous. And I just realized that there was definitely an opportunity to do something that was more of a concierge type of service and higher end. And
it's almost like a white glove service, right? Especially
Exactly.
in comparison to the apps. Were you doing it before the apps and then obviously during too, so you got to see the full?
Well, yeah, I started in 2010. And that was, I don't know when Tinder started, but I don't think I had heard of Tinder back then, at least. But but Match.com was definitely around, and eHarmony. And it was still a little taboo back then. People didn't want to necessarily be on there. They thought they would be embarrassed about using some of the apps. But now everyone uses them. But everyone also realizes just how draining and how much work they are. So people will ask me, well, are the online dating apps and these sites, are they competition? And I think it's more of a justification for what we do, because really people understand now just how much work it is to find who they're looking for.
Yeah, because there's a lot of labor involved if you're doing it yourself, right? You have to like pick through your clients, and so it's not just like algorithms and you just submit what you want and then just a system kind of sets you up.
Yeah. Well, we have our own proprietary database, and we work primarily with people who are busy professionals, executives, a lot of business owners, people that are also more particular and they know what they want, but they just maybe don't have the time, or maybe they don't want to put themselves out on some dating site and spend a lot of time with it. We work with a lot of very well-known, celebrities or even billionaires, millionaire, multimillionaires that own a lot of companies that have a lot of employees and they don't
Yeah,
want their
yeah.
employees to see them. And so they want that confidentiality, but they're looking for something in particular, maybe a personality type, a look, whatever it is. And we will do a customized search on their behalf.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense too because it's like, if you're on Tinder, it's going by like your location, and obviously you're always next to your employees, and it's just kind of,
Yeah.
you don't want to see your employee if you're,
Right. And you don't want them seeing you.
yeah,
So,
yeah, especially
yeah.
seeing their wants and everything like that.
Mhm.
Do you have like a pretty even pool of people who like approach you and so where it's like 50% men, 50% women, or is it like majority women who approach you guys and look to hire you, or is it kind
Well,
of
yeah, so we have our own pool. It's our database, and those are people that just want to be considered as a match. They're not paying clients. We're not doing a proactive search on their behalf necessarily, but they just want to be in our Rolodex and be considered as a match. And over 70% of our clients are women, actually, or sorry, over 70% of our database, those people are
are
women.
women? Okay.
So they are, they're just wanting to be found because it's still kind of a lot of women still feel that traditional way that they want the man to pursue the woman and they want him to find her. So
Well, it's
they,
nice too. It's nice when somebody, finds you. It's a nice feeling. You have kind of like that satisfaction that this person sought you out.
right, right. But our clients it's close to about 50-50. We have more, well, I'd say 60-40. We have more men now than women as clients.
What would you say is, makes you successful in like in making a successful match? I know there's probably a lot to it, and it's probably like I would think like customized, right, to each person's like individual needs.
Yeah, well, of course, everyone's looking for that chemistry, right? That connection. And we try to go beyond that because we all know that that can fizzle out. And everybody's had a relationship where it started off super hot and heavy and they had this great, fire, this chemistry. And then eventually they got to know each other. And that, and you don't see red flags with rose colored goggles, right? So
Yeah, that's very good.
we try to get people to really focus on values and what's going to work long term. That was something that I found evident through talking to my husband, about relationships,
Mhm.
because you would be surprised by how many people end up getting divorced because of religion. They have kids and then they're raising their
Yeah.
kids in a particular religion and they're different religions. And so there's a lot of issues there. And, around the families are different. Or another one is just if you want to have kids, if people want to have kids or not. And you think that people would sort that kind of thing out ahead of time
Yeah.
before they got married, but they just are kind of like, oh, we'll figure it out. We love each other, so
You want to put it off, I think.
yeah. And then it ultimately is the demise of their relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, because you can't eventually you do have to kind of face it, I guess. Um
Mhm.
do you find when people approach you, they're usually pretty genuinely honest with expressing, what they want in somebody and also expressing, who they are as well? Or do they kind of like oversell or undersell some qualities for, for whatever reason, but then eventually when you're matchmaking them with someone, you find, maybe some things come up that, you kind of have to dial back and then re-explore with them?
I think a lot of people know or they have an idea of what they want, but
Yeah.
others don't, which I prefer to work with people that are more open and don't necessarily know what they want because this is not like, finding a relationship is not like, ordering a car or buying a car. It's not like, oh, I want this feature and this one, but no, I don't need that one. And, da, da, da. And it's, this is a person, this is a relationship. And people are the most complicated things in the world. And
Yeah.
so it's necessary to be open-minded as to what kind of package that person can come in. So we'll guide them and figure out, okay, what are their values, what's important to them, and then we can find somebody that fits within those parameters. But it's what's the most challenging, I think, are the people that are like, I need this, and this, and they have this laundry list of things that they think they want before they'll be able to fall in love with someone. And it doesn't work that way. That's not how relationships work, because we could put somebody in front of each other that, that they check all the boxes, but they don't have that connection. They don't fall in love. And it's about, ultimately, they need to find the connection, but it has to be you have to adhere to those things that are most important, which are your values.
Yeah. I mean, that's so important too, just being open as well. Cause I feel like
Mhm.
probably, I mean, do you experience this where, you show a match to somebody after doing a really deep dive for them and they just go, no, find me someone else. Do you find
Yeah,
that happening?
there's definitely that. And there's some people that have kind of a negative lens in life in general, and they'll just pick people apart and find ways to turn things around and make it negative. I
Yeah.
mean, I had one time where I was introducing a couple to each other, and the gentleman was from India, and I had put in his profile that he was Christian, because I think it's important to know what kind of values somebody
Yeah.
from India, because you don't know if he's Hindu or Muslim or whatever. And she goes, well, I don't want anybody that's too religious. I'm like, I never said that he was too religious or he was religious. I just said he was Christian, so then you can know at least you're on the same page with holidays and such. So,
Yeah, because that's important.
but they read into that, and then they interpret it in whatever way. And we all fill in the gap. We'll read something or we'll hear something, and then we fill in the gaps based on our past experiences. And so that's why I always go back to, it's important to have an open mind. You don't judge, and
Yeah.
just get to know someone before you can make a determination of if there is potential. And even one date, one first date, people will say, oh, I know within 5 seconds. Well, if they're physically attractive within 5 seconds, but people are complicated. And, I always think about this one time where I met this guy at a networking event, and I thought he was kind of nerdy and just, he was shy and a little nervous. And, I ended up setting up a time to meet him for coffee. And the guy that showed up for coffee was a totally different person than who I had met at the networking event. The guy at coffee was like super confident and kind of suave, and I actually had to look back and like, is this really the same person? Because I was confused. Is that like his personality was completely different. He was just a lot more comfortable when it was just him and I one on one
Yeah, so it's
for coffee
refreshing.
versus in a setting where it's networking.
Yeah. Well, that's a good story too, because that's almost the better end of it too, where somebody shows up and it's unexpected, but it's unexpectedly good. Because I feel like the majority of dates that end up being unexpected, it's usually
Not so
the
good.
latter. Yeah. Where
Yeah.
either somebody doesn't look like you thought they were, or like their
Mhm.
personality is just entirely different. So
Right. Right. That's why, I mean, we meet with everyone, we get to know them, we ask them those deeper questions that may not be questions that you want to ask somebody on a first date, like, oh, what are you looking for? And
yeah.
do you want to have kids? And, what's your idea of a relationship? What kind of values? And, those kinds of things. So those are, that's why it's nice for us to be able to do it on our clients' behalf, because people will tell us. And whereas when you're on a date, people might cater their answers to what they think the other person wants to hear. And when they're talking to us, they don't know anything about our client or who we could potentially set them up with. They're just telling us who they are and what they want.
Yeah, that's what's so nice about matchmaking is that it's different than the apps, because when you put in your bio or your photos, that person is instantly going to see
Hmm.
what it is that you're putting in there. So unless you're okay with
Yeah.
putting something in your bio and having people, swipe left specifically because they don't like that, which I don't think most people, are okay with doing. They kind of want to appease everybody, so they don't put in the particulars that they know is going to maybe get people to swipe left, but probably increase the quality of their, swipes, right? But it's great
Mhm.
with you guys because they can have that confidential conversation with you, and then you could kind of narrow it down. That's what makes it, I think, so unique. And I feel like dating apps are kind of like the thing right now, and matchmaking is kind of looked at as like almost like a almost like a pastime, but it's such a better quality than
Yeah, it's a
dating.
it's a luxury, as I
Yeah,
would
it
say.
is. It is. It's a
Yeah,
luxury.
right. It's more, it's just like you can do your own laundry at home, or you can have someone else do it for you. You can hire a professional landscaper, or you can mow your own grass and have funky lines all over your lawn. So, it's the same kind of concept of like outsourcing it and knowing that you're working with somebody that has, it's proximity. Really, it's they have what you want a lot of time, what our clients are looking for in particular. And because, okay, so for example, if you are a guy and you have really particular taste and you want somebody that's very attractive and has her own life and educated and smart and blah blah blah, you can go online and you can try to create a profile that's going to appeal to her, but you are one of thousands of guys that are going to be vying for that woman's attention, and she's going to get tons of messages. So how do you even stand out? Because people don't really even read the profiles, they're just looking at pictures and swiping whichever way. So whereas when you work with a matchmaker, we can, we're basically an advocate on our client's behalf. And, women will trust us because they know that, okay, whatever we're telling them is the truth, because we've met with this client where we are basically an extension of them. And so we know who they are and know what they're looking for. And they know that any guy that comes to us, he's serious, and he is probably somebody that he wants a serious committed relationship. He's not messing around. He's has his stuff together. He has,
Yeah.
he's probably financially secure and a lot of other good attributes. So they want to meet, the kind of people that we represent. And those women that are online, they get sick of getting bombarded by a lot of guys that they never want to talk to or never want to
Yeah.
meet. And so they would rather just be matched with our clients.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Do you find that when people approach you to get matched, they're kind of like they just got out of a horrible relationship and they're like, I never want to do that again. Please just find me someone. Or do you find it's single people that have been single for a while and are approaching you because they want a different style of trying to date?
Mhm.
Is there like one or the other? Or is it just kind of like a mix?
It's definitely a mix. Everybody has a different story. Somebody might have heard about us from one of their friends. A lot of people have tried the online dating and apps and they're just tired of it. And so they want something that is going to be more precise. I always say we're kind of like the rifle versus the shotgun approach of
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
online dating. And
Like,
then, yeah, we do get a lot of people that are like, they have been, maybe they were divorced and they're like, I don't want to pick the wrong person. So I want your help to help me to find that right person next time around.
and how long does that typically take? I know it probably depends, obviously, mostly on the person, but do you guys
Yeah.
do like yearly memberships, monthly memberships, or hey, I'm with you guys until you find me, or is there like a minimum amount of dates like you promise to like set people up with?
Yeah, it depends on the client and what program, but
Mm.
it's typically we can get it done within 6 months. We will find
Oh, really?
that. Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's our goal. We do have more of an accelerated type model, and it's intensive in that we want anyone that comes to us, they're looking for somebody now. They don't want to date forever. And so we have a very low matchmaker to client ratio.
Mhm.
And so the matchmakers, once they get a new client, they meet with the client, we have them do a personality assessment, we have them meet with other partners, and whether it's wardrobe photographers, we have health coaches, dating coaches
Oh,
on our
wow.
team. And yeah, so everybody's different in what they may benefit from. So, we'll get them, arranged with them and our partners, and then our matchmakers go to work. And on average, we end up interviewing about 50 people per client. So it's like we're going on those 50 first dates on our clients' behalf. And then we'll select who we want to set them up with, and we plan the dates. So all they have to do is just show up, have fun, and get to know the person. And then afterwards, we get feedback, because of course we want to hear how it went. We want to be able to provide our client with any feedback that might be helpful for them for the next time around, whether it's another date with that person or, another new person. And then we try to plan activity-based dates. So it's not just dinner and where you're feeling like you're on a job interview. But everybody's different. Some people like that, and some people just want to grab a drink and appetizer. But we will try to find something fun for people to do, and have been known to plan some pretty elaborate dates as well for our clients, just depending on who they are and what they want.
Yeah. What's a good date idea outside of dinner that's fun? It can also be flirtatious, and it's kind of no pressure where it's like you're just staring at each other the whole time. There could be like, some eye contact, and then last, what would you recommend? I'd say, yeah.
I think, going for a walk is always a good thing, like getting an ice cream cone or a coffee and going for a walk is nice. If somebody is more on the, if they're more on the quieter side and nervous or something, I might set them up to go to a comedy show. So then they can meet for a drink ahead of time and, chat for a little bit, but there's not a lot of pressure to keep the conversation flowing. And then you go through the show together and you're laughing together and you're having a good experience. And maybe afterwards you will eat or grab another drink or whatever it is that you want to do afterwards. So you're having an experience, and can kind of get a feel for what their sense of humor is like as well.
Yeah.
And it just, again, it depends on the person and the personality. So we've had clients that will fly to New York, go to Broadway, they'll maybe do something, go on a helicopter ride, something, just different things like that. It just depends on the client and what they want to do, what they're up for.
Yeah. You're selling me on this so much right now, because I feel like it's probably less, now that I think of it, it's probably less even costly using a matchmaker in the long run than it is on the dating apps, because you think about like the dating apps. Yeah, the not only like the money, but it's just really like the time. Where
if you put your time and value, how much you value your time, and yes, it will definitely quickly add up and pass by what our services cost. I think I heard something like statistically people are spending around $1,800 a year just on like dates when they're actually physically on the date. So
oh wow. Yeah, and it's not even including the time, the walking away from bad dates, being like, right, I don't know if I can keep going.
No, I mean, it's just, that's like dinner and drinks and stuff. So that's
because then it kind of, your last experience just roll into your next one too, and it's got to be just fatiguing, and then the years go on, and I mean, it's probably better to have that, maybe, because like you said before, you guys do probably 50 of those bad dates for them before you get to them to that first date. And right, if you were to tell somebody, hey, you can try to use Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, or whatever it is for forever, or I can almost guarantee you a really, really good match in probably about 6 months time. I mean, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I agree. But and dating fatigue is a real thing. People do talk about that a lot when they come to us, that they're just sick of the apps. They're sick of the fake people. And you don't know what people want when they're online and on these apps. They could be just looking for attention, and they actually never really want to meet with anyone. They just like to feel good about themselves because they're getting a lot of attention online, or they're looking to hook up. And then, of course, there's people that are like that come to us and they actually want a relationship. Oh, and there's another subset that are the fraudsters and the scammers, of course. That's a
Yep.
big percent that's online as
That's a
well.
huge one. I can tell you right now on the apps, a big thing is like people like self-promoting themselves on like different apps, like on Instagram, or trying to get you to like go visit like their Facebook page or their Instagram page or their Snapchat, like things like that. And they're probably real people, but they just create a profile, put whatever they want to like sell you on there, and then just like walk away.
Yeah, well, and these services, a lot of these services just buy fake profiles and put them on there just to make it appear like there are a lot of people for them.
Yeah, they're just bots. You're just swiping with bots and matching with bots, but they're not going to answer you.
Right, right.
I had somebody submit a question to ask you, which I thought was really, really interesting. Because I hear it all the time, like especially when you first go on a date, it comes up. Do you take into account people's zodiac signs when you do matchmaking? Because I hear that a lot too if I'm like on a date, I'll just oh, what's your symbol? And I feel like it's kind of a little bit of like an icebreaker. Maybe it's not all that all that interesting, but it might be more of an icebreaker for somebody. But do you take that into account when you're matchmaking, or am I so off on that?
We don't put that into our equation, but there are some people that want to do that. I just think that there's no science behind that, and you would be eliminating so many people
based off of their birthday.
Yeah, and again, there's just no science. Just like there's no personality assessment that could say, okay, this should go with this person. There's no algorithm that can prove anything. So I try to, again, keep people open-minded and not limit themselves based on something like that. Because you don't know what the outcome could be long-term.
No, you don't. You'd rather like eliminate people based off of their
what do they want? Do they want kids? Do you have the same like goals in life and or ideas, roles in a relationship, and all those kinds of things? I think there's just a lot more, and of course, attraction is super important too. So,
yeah, people come in with that that mindset of I just want this, or do you run into a lot of the time where you have that one person who really, really, really wants a match, but they're just very, very particular, and kind of almost like a realtor where it's like you find somebody the perfect house that they want and everything's perfect, and then like they point out one crack in like the foundation concrete.
They just get focused on the negatives. So I mean, of course there's always going to be people like that, and we do have, I mean, a lot of our clients are very particular, and I think that's where the matchmaker comes in, and that we have been doing this for a long time. We have a lot of confidence around what we do and why we do it. And a lot of times you're just basically being people's cheerleaders and trying to encourage them to be open-minded, encourage them to give people a chance, give a relationship a chance, because we've seen it happen time and time again where they come back from a first date and they're like, I don't know, I don't think so. And we encourage them to give it another shot, and then they end up getting married. So you just never know.
Have you been invited to any weddings?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I think that's awesome. You deserve it too. If you do set somebody up, I feel like it's a requirement.
I agree.
And it's pointed out at the wedding. Like if it wasn't for this person, we probably all wouldn't be sitting here today.
Yeah, I mean, not everybody. Actually, most people don't want them to know that they
that's right.
by a matchmaker. So usually, if I go to a wedding, I don't tell people what I do for a living. Mm-hmm. So they might know that I set them up, but they don't need to know that it's my job.
Yeah, they want to tell you when they met on a cruise or something, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, where they were set up by a friend.
Yeah. What are the what's like the top reasons you would say people don't work out or matches don't work out? Is it like people, I feel like it's people maybe not being open, I would think, but
what we just talked about is that people they're already in a relationship with this imaginary person in their head, and when they go on a date, they're like, nope, he's not this, or she's not that, the fail. And they want, because they think they need all these other things in order to make a relationship work long term. And again, there's no science, there's no proof, there's no like reason why it should be that other than that that's just their belief and they're limiting themselves. So
Yeah. I feel like business people probably are tough with that because they just kind of go down the checklist really quick in their usual life, and then it might
yeah,
boil over into their dating life where they're
I
just
think
so.
anyone can be that way because we all are experts in our own experiences, right?
I love
So
that. I love that. It's
well,
true.
we think that we know everything based on our past experiences, and so that's why we were going to disqualify people because oh, the last person I dated, they had kids, and that was terrible, and blah blah blah. Well, okay, you don't know that the next person might not be that it might not be the same way. Everybody is different. So why not give that person a chance just because they already have children? It's it could be possible for it to work out.
Yeah. Well, before I let you go, April, and delete all my dating apps and go with a matchmaker, what what would you say to someone or to people who are, you know, going out for Valentine's Day being right around the corner? And so what would you recommend as like a great first date with people's intentions are to establish a connection?
I don't think it's so much like where you go or what you do on the date. It's how you show up. Now, are you genuinely curious about this a person that you're meeting with? Are you asking them questions? Are you being open yourself? Are you really putting in an effort to keep the conversation flowing and to really get to know them? And I think the key is just being genuinely curious to get to know someone, and then think about what are you bringing to the table. What are you doing to make them feel good about the date and enjoy their time on the date, because people love to be around others that make them feel good, whether it's making them laugh or they just have good energy, and or they're learning something from the other person. So it has to do with more your character and your vibe and just who you are. And what are you talking about? What are you interested? Do you have passions? Do you have hobbies? Do you have interests? And not just somebody that watches TV and doesn't really have a lot to talk about. I would suggest getting some hobbies and really working on yourself. And then also, again, it comes down to like how do you make them feel on the date. They should enjoy their time. And a lot of times people, well, everyone loves to talk about themselves. So if you're genuinely curious and you're asking them questions and you're, stating like or repeating back what they have told you, and so you're showing them that you're listening, actively listening, I think those are all great ways to really build that connection with
And you're
someone.
remembering too when you repeat it, you're kind
Yeah,
of like reinforcing it. And then it is nice when, 20 minutes later you could even expand on what they said previously to where, it kind of
right.
makes that person feel like, oh, this person actually listens to me.
Yeah,
What?
or when you're texting afterwards, maybe you were talking about giraffes and then you happen to be at a zoo and you see a giraffe, you can send them a picture of the giraffe. I don't know. And there's just
Yeah.
things like that. It's like tying it back, your other future conversations, tying back to what you guys talked about on the date. So,
Yeah, thanks for that. That makes a whole lot of sense, and I love that. I love your whole method of trying to find matchmakers and everything you've kind of like discussed today, because it just involves so much critical thinking, reflectiveness, patience as well, and that all I feel like makes for like the perfect match. And I think that's what everybody wants at the end of the day. It's just the methods that we're kind of going about it, I guess to
mhm,
say,
right.
which makes sense. I hope everyone who is listening too can kind of take this and kind of like consider a matchmaker, because it definitely goes a long way. It's so much more quality than dating apps. Almost, I guess, kind of like when you get set up from by a friend. Usually that date's a little bit higher quality than.
Great. It's a
But you're just,
referral.
but you're just an absolute pro at it.
Yeah, it's like being it's a referral.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So thanks for all of your thoughts, April. I definitely appreciate you guys coming on. Luxury matchmaking, for everyone who is listening, also known as Luma, Luma. If you guys are ever interested in this service, especially around Valentine's Day, I would say, is this your busy time of year, by the way?
It is. Yep.
It is
People
Valentine's Day.
and after Valentine's Day, I think people, well, after New Year's resolutions, because people do want to make it a priority. And then, of course, after Valentine's, because again, people realize, well, it's time to make this a priority. So
I feel like Valentine's Day ends the dating new year, and it starts the dating new year. You know, it's kind of like December 31st, but for dating, to where as soon as February 15th comes around, people are like, all right, I got to start getting serious about this.
yeah, right. And I mean, it's been for people that live in a colder climate, it's been a long, cold winter, and they are ready to find their person.
Yep, they're ready for spring.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much, April. I wish you the best of luck. You are such a good human for doing this for everyone, because I feel like it's an underrated service, but it's so valuable, and you know the world just needs more love. So I think you matching people up there is just such an amazing thing.
Well, awesome. Well, thanks again for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Yes, and hopefully I'll talk to you down the line, April, and we'll catch up and see how many more matches you put together.
Yeah, awesome. And if anyone wants to join, they can just go to lumasearch.com. It's LumaSearch.com, Luma Search, and fill out the profile form and then set up a time to meet with a matchmaker. So they can either join to be in the database or also a client as well. So, okay. And that's you too. If you're single,
you just see my name pop up.
There you go. Awesome.
Well, thanks, April.
Thank you. Take care.
Every star